Are you okay if we record this? I should have asked you that.
Yes, you can. It means for the local federation for the use, yeah?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we welcome everybody as you begin to log on. We'll give it a couple of minutes and apologize that I've frozen on my screen, but I'll see if I can fix that. Okay, welcome everybody. Just hang on. We'll start in a minute. Okay. So good, everybody. Gadeer, can you hear me? Gadeer, can you hear me okay?
I hear you very well.
Okay, great. So let me welcome everybody as people come online. I'm Mark Blattner. I'm the president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Greater Portland, and we're delighted to have you join us this afternoon with our special guest coming to us from Washington, D.C. Let me introduce Gadeer Kamal-Mreeh, who is the senior envoy of the Jewish Agency for Israel to the Jewish Federation of Greater Washington. She first began her career working for the Israeli Broadcasting Corporation in 2011, where she hosted a program in Arabic focusing on the social and cultural issues concerning Arab youth in Israel. In 2015, she was selected to host the Israeli Broadcasting Corporation's daily newscast in Arabic. And in 2017, she began anchoring its main Hebrew Saturday evening newscast, as well as a nightly newscast, becoming the first non-Jewish anchor woman to broadcast a main evening news in Hebrew language in Israel. In 2019, she was elected to the Knesset as a member of the Blue and White Party, making history as the first Druze woman to become a member of the Knesset. She holds a degree from Bar Ilan University in medical imaging and social sciences, and a master's degree with honors in international relations from Haifa University. And as I mentioned, in 2021, she became the Jewish Agency's first Druze emissary to the United States. She was born and lived in the Druze village Daliat al-Carmel. She is married to Shadi and a mother of 2 children, Tom and Liam. She enjoys cooking, art, nature, and quality time with her family. And we are delighted to have her talk about her unique story as a Druze emissary in the rich mosaic of Israeli society. So Gadeer, welcome very much. We're delighted to have you. Just to give everybody an update, she's going to talk for about 35 minutes, and there's some time for Q&A afterwards. So if you have any questions, please just put them in the Q&A button on the bottom of the screen. So Gadeer, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me. Good afternoon. I'm glad to join you. I already told Mark that it is so cold here in DC. I hear that you have rain there, but I'm glad that we have this warm atmosphere and this Zoom, although we don't have it 3D, but one day we can meet maybe in person. Meanwhile, we will have this short Zoom, and I would love to share my story. I will share also the screen, and we will have after that Q&A, as Mark said. So people in Israel, when they ask me who you are, I say, hello, my name is Gadeer. I am a Druze woman. I am an Israeli, but not a Jew. I am an Arab, but not a Muslim. I am a minority within a minority. My mother tongue is Arabic. My religion is Druze, and I am proud Israeli citizen. Good luck with that. It means I symbolize the complexity of Israeli society, and I symbolize the beauty of Israeli society. People call me in Israel the first Druze, the first woman to do things, to achieve, to break glass ceilings, which is not something that you wake up in the morning and think, okay, what is next? But this is who this is how I was raised, in a way of don't work or don't narrow your work or your life in a narrow prism of I care to my family, my friends, my children, my partner. No, go beyond. How I can build my neighborhood, how we can change the city, the country, or even the globe as a citizen of the globe. Those are my parents. My father was a contractor, my mother Asia, and this is how they raised us. Be an involved citizen. Since even when we were children, this is always what they told us. If you have something to say it. If you believe something should be changed, go and change it. Social activism, even without knowing the terminology, the meaning of social activism, we always were socially very active in student council, in SOFIM, in so many courses and classes and delegations. And I love media. I was born as a journalist. My mother remember me, instead of playing as a child, I was sitting in front of a mirror and broadcasting news. So when I was 12 years old, in the 6th grade, I started to host my own TV show in a local TV station in my town. Instead of writing homework, I was filming homework, talking to people, because I believe in people. I believe that we can influence, we can shape and reshape our existence, our community, and our countries. So this is who am I. And if we think in the macro perspective about us as Druze, it was amazing to see through my life, when I started to explore and to read more about us, about the Druze people, how much our past is intertwined, how much we shaped together during the last century our life, how much we, the Druze, helped our brothers and sisters, the Jewish brothers and sisters, to establish the state of Israel. You can find many stories and photos and evidences in the open sources, in the web, and in many places. I chose those 4 photos that for me symbolize the beauty of this relationship, which is so brave and so strong. See the photo from 1948. I don't know if you recognize the man number 5. Yitzhak Sadeh, one of the founders of IDF, in my village, in Daliat al-Carmel, with his Druze friends that already were his friends. Imagine how much the trust was deep. You know, we are talking about the year in which we established the state of Israel. People were fighting together, supporting each other to build or to support the Zionist movement, the Zionist aspiration, the Zionist dream, because we believed as Jews that there is a similarity between our values and your values. In 1956, the mandatory military conscription law was applied for the Druze. Every Druze male aged 18 draft into army. Today we draft into army in the highest percentage in Israel, 82%, which is higher than the number among the Jewish sector and the highest number in Israel. It means we are the loyalist minority in Israel because we have no any territorial or any national aspirations. It's not written in our religion that one day we will have our own land or our own territorial aspiration. That is why we are loyal at first, since day one, to the country that we were born in. That is why Lebanese Druze are loyal to Lebanon, Syrian Druze to Syria, Jordanian to Jordan, and Israelis to Israel. In some occasions in the past, even Israeli Druze soldiers fought against their brothers, Lebanese or Syrian Druze soldiers, because, as we said, you are loyal at first to the country that you were born in. In Israel, there are 150,000 Druze people living in 16 Druze villages in the north of Israel, in the Carmel Mountain, Galilee, and Golan Heights. And look at the photo in 59. The first official visit of Ben Gurion as a prime minister to a non-Jewish town, a non-Jewish community, was to the Druze community, to Julis, a Druze village, to visit the spiritual leader of the Druze community, Sheikh Amin Tarif. And see the photo from 71. I don't know if you recognize the man, Abba Khushi, the mayor of the city of Haifa, with the Abu Ruken family in Isfia, Carmel Mountain. I'm sure you remember Shabbat HaShchura 46, when Jewish cities were attacked, Haifa, Jaffa. the Druze people saved Abba Hushi life. He was hidden, protected in Aisfia, a Druze village, for 3 months. So today, if you travel from the Carmel Mountain, from the Druze villages to Haifa through Carmel Mountain, you will pass Aisfia and you will see that the main road is called Abba Hushi, symbolizing this beauty of those strong, brave relationship. I don't know if you know that our national anthem, Hatikva, was written in Beit Yad Labanim, in my village in Daliat el-Carmel, in 1884 by Naftali Hertz-Amber. Imagine Naftali Hertz-Amber sitting there, living there in Lawrence Oliphant home. He was a Jewish British diplomat who lived in my village, and Naftali Hertz-Amber wrote Hatikva in my village. So think about how much we shaped together in last century our life, our country together as brothers, as sisters. Today it is Beit Yad Labanim, where the Druze people, we commemorate our soldiers, 435 people who were killed, soldiers protecting the country. So this is who we are. There are many facts about the Druze that I really encourage you to read, but this is my story and my identity. We will not talk today about the political arena and the political experience. I was a member of parliament, the first Druze female in the Knesset, to be there as a candidate, to run, to succeed, to be elected and re-elected. We didn't know then that we will have election Aleph, Bet, Gimel, that's the first, second, third. I decided to take time out after the third because I saw that we are heading toward the fourth and the fifth election, that we are suffering from a real, deep, serious crisis. So I decided to take time out and to come and to do public diplomacy, because I realized that there are huge potential of connecting people to people, and maybe I will decide to go back to politics. But this is one of the powerful photos that I really remember, and I truly believe that it is so powerful to be the only woman in many rooms. It was the first official meeting or the first official trip of me and Benny Gantz to the spiritual leader community, to his home, Sheikh Muwafaq Tarif. I was the only woman there, the first woman to be there. Benny Gantz called me that morning asking me if he can sit near me on the same sofa. I told him, guess what? I don't know. I am the first to try that. Maximum will be killed. I don't know. Let us try. And nobody was killed. And it symbolized, I also talk about gender equality and lecture about gender equality. Imagine being there at the first. Nobody prepare you what to do, how to act. You don't know how people will react. In some days I felt that I am paving the way. I felt that the pain in my elbows. I was telling my husband. So being there as the first woman, I was elected, re-elected, brought women to talk about politics as the mothers of the soldiers, as an integral part of this community, which is very conservative, very patriarchal. We are doing amazing process toward the world, toward opening up to the world, modernization, globalization, but we are still conservative. Yesterday we hosted here in DC our president Yitzhak Herzog and Mike Herzog, our ambassador, started the meeting by thanking his staff, and Sausan Natur Hassoun, a Druze woman from my village who is the head of the division of public diplomacy here in DC with the Israeli in the Israeli embassy, and our president Yitzhak Herzog, who was the chairman of Jaffe, the Jewish agency, started by thanking me as a Druze woman to be there as the Jewish agency. So think about it. Druze women are thriving, succeeding, and breaking glass ceiling, but sometimes I say it comes in a delay of couple of years, but we are in the right direction. We will skip political period that was 2 years and full of challenges and elections, but through all my work, and when I was also in media, when I was a journalist, when I was an anchor woman, this is what I saw. By the way, I broadcasted news in Israel in Arabic and Hebrew, and sometimes I broadcasted news on the same day, in two languages, Arabic and Hebrew. Think about it. What does it mean to open up the news at 7 p.m. In Arabic, Masa'ul Khair min Urushalim al-Quds, and then an hour after that at 8 p.m. בעברית, ערב טוב לכם ירושלים. So to symbolize this complexity and diversity, this is It was amazing, challenging, but amazing. And through media, through politics, this is what I saw, the Declaration of Independence, especially chapter 13. Israel will ensure complete equality of social and political rights to all of its inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex. Where are we 75 years after that? We have many questions, many challenges, by the way, like any other countries, but this is our identity. When I was in the Knesset, we tried twice to make an important amendment in the nation-state law. I am sure you heard about the nation-state law. The nation-state law was a basic law that the Knesset legislated in 2018 in order to ensure that Israel is the historic homeland of the Jewish people, which is right. But the state of Israel refused to ensure equality, civil equality for all of its inhabitants. So when I was in politics, I tried twice to make this important amendment in this basic law that is going to be our opening chapter, our identity in the constitution that we will have in the future. But we failed. We didn't succeed because of the problematic crisis that we had and still have, unfortunately, in the political arena. But simply by saying I have no problem with the law, I respect my country, I know that my country is the historic homeland of the Jewish people, I respect the symbols, the flag, I sing Hatikva, although as a minority I am not mentioned there, but ensuring equality must be there in this law. It means I have no problem with what was written in the law, I have a problem with what was not written in the law. So we worked with A-list, the best of the jurists in Israel, from the right, two of them wearing kippahs, by simply trying to convince politicians that don't be afraid to ensure equality. So this is one of the challenges when we talk about Israeli society. But this is what I saw. This is what always guided me to see the beauty of this rich mosaic of Israeli society. And when I say beauty and strength, and I rely on numbers, I rely on facts, I rely on evidences. First of all, we are still a vibrant democracy, or maybe the opposite. The fact that we are having elections, every year, it means that we are still a vibrant democracy. It means that we are still with legitimate tools trying to stabilize the system. And we have free media, we have independent judiciary system, we have strong democracy. See what happened last year after the fourth election, when we had the transition of power. It was peaceful, smooth transition of power. When we had the results in the Knesset, Benjamin Netanyahu stood up, went to the seat of the opposition leader. Meanwhile, even Lapid didn't finish collecting his paper, and Naftali Bennett came and sat on the seat of the prime minister. Smooth transition of power, without troops, we had demonstrations, we had democratic tools and rallies with Bibi and against Bibi, but we had no soldiers in the street, which symbolized to us that we are still a vibrant democracy. We have strong economy. Our GDP as Israel, if we compare it to the region, to this crazy neighborhood called Middle East, our GDP is 14 times that of Egypt, is 6 times that of Lebanon, is 8 times that of Iran. It is even double than Saudi Arabia. We spend 5% of our GDP on research, more than any other country in the world. We have very strong economy, the startup nation, and we still have superiority when we talk about military or security aspects. We still control the sky, the sea, the land. Although the threats, the internal, external threats, we still very strong. We have strong military, and the new Middle East full of opportunities. Abraham Accords 1. Now we are talking about Abraham Accords to maybe try to bring Saudi Arabia, which I don't believe we will see. It will not be so easy because of many reasons, but the Middle East is changing. There are dramatic changes in the Middle East, dramatic changes within Israeli society, including Arabs in Israel, and the timing is crucial, the timing is interesting, and we see many opportunities. Finally, people understand that normalizing relationship or relations with Israel is a win-win situation in many fields, in many aspects, not just in a declarative level, but the majority of the work is under the table still. And of course, political changes. Who could imagine that last government will be formed by Naftali Bennett from the right, from Yamina, and Mansour Abbas from the Muslim Brothers? It means the political changes are reflecting and affecting and influencing what people think in the street, and we can talk about it, about the changes in the political arena. Some of the tools that I saw through my work with the Israeli society as a Druze Israeli woman, because in my work as a journalist and as a politician, I toured the country, north and south, and we met Druze, Circassians, Muslims, Bedouins, all aspects, women, religious leaders, and students. It means what I am telling you is I rely on my experience in the field. The first thing is education. Education as a key, education as a tool in every healthy society. We must educate our people. And when we came here to the US, when I started my shlichut a year and a half ago, we were hiking one day in one of the weekends in the Great Falls, and I have 2 children. And when I called my youngest, Liam, in Arabic, I called him Liam Shwai Shwai during hiking. And the meaning of the word Shwai Shwai in Arabic is slowly, step by step. A man who was nearby, he told me, Ahlan, Shwai Shwai, Arabic, Morocco. I said, no, Israel. He said, what? Don't you say Palestine? I said, no, Israel. He said, what? People speak Arabic in Israel? I said, yeah, there are 21% of the people in Israel are Arabs. More than 2 million Arabs living in Israel. He said, what? I was shocked. I looked at my husband, Shadi. I told him, do you know what? That is why we need to be here. It became so trendy to criticize Israel, sometimes, believe me or not, without knowing where Israel exists on the map, who's living in Israel. And to have the ability to educate and to go and to read and to understand what is really happening in Israel is so crucial. Sometimes I ask people when I lecture, who is the agriculture minister of Israel? In terms of when we care about any issue, by the way, we need to know about it. We need to educate ourselves at first about it. So education, in my mind, is the first and the most important tool when we are talking about connecting people to people in order to know each other. Researchers found that you will take home with you just 17% of what I said. You just remember 17%. So please just take with you this sentence. It is less than 17%. Don't talk about them. Talk to them, talk with them directly. When you seek to know, when you want to know what is happening with the Druze, talk with Druze. When you want to know what is happening with the Circassians, go to Kfar Kama, eat with the people, sleep there, sense the atmosphere, and try to figure out who they are, what they need, what they feel. When you want to know about shared society or about Christians, go to Haifa. When you want to know about Bedouins, go to Rahat. Talk to people directly, feel them, absorb the vibe, what they concern about, what they feel, what they need, who they are as individuals, as collectives. And I put in the middle the photo of the Druze and the Jews, because in Israel, IDF serves as like a melting pot. It's very intense experience to have people fighting together. Imagine they can sleep in tents in Maidun fighting Hezbollah. It's very intense way to make people live together. Imagine the trust, how much they talk to each other as individuals. That is why we speak to each other as collectives, less than other groups that I put aside, the Arab sector in Israel and the Haredi/religious Jewish sector in Israel, that they have less common project or programs. Geographically, they live in different places. They work in different places. They live, they educate themselves or consume academy or go to academy in different places. So we are encouraging them by many programs that we have in Israel, social programs, to talk to each other, because we truly believe that having this authentic ability to bring people to talk with each other, not just in the professional level, but people to people, is so important. So talk with people, don't talk about people. The power of terminology when we are talking about shaping or reshaping public opinion in the macro perspective. This is an article I wrote in Haaretz in 2020 regarding terminology. The relationship between the Druze and the Jews in Israel is called Brit Damim. Brit is covenant, the covenant of blood. That since the mandatory military conscription law was applied for the Jews in 56, we have the covenant of blood. We are fighting together. I said, no, I am not coming to die with you. I am coming to live with you with Brit Chayim, covenant of life. Equality must be implemented everywhere, not just in IDF, not just between soldiers. So even when I was in politics, I found myself some days fixing speeches of leaders in Israel who said during their speeches, Yehudim v'she'inam Yehudim, Jews and non-Jews. Imagine Biden now is giving a speech and saying, we care in the US about Christians and non-Christians. You have your name. The Jewish community, the Jewish people, you cannot define someone by saying you are non-something. So how to talk to people? Or when we had that crazy May 2 years ago, when people were killing each other in the streets, you can see in the subtitles in Israel, in all media, in all the outlets, Arim Me'oravot, mixed cities. When I was interviewed, I was telling them, don't say mixed cities. Nobody mixed them. Say shared cities. Arim meshutafot, lo arim me'oravot. It means the leadership or the leaders must choose the words that they use when they educate the public. No Brit Damim, Brit Chayim. No mixed cities, shared cities. No non-Jews. You can say Arabs. Call me by my name. So it's very important to be aware of terminology in shaping public opinion as a tool. Israeli Arabs are not what you think. We are talking about education. A year ago, I was in a synagogue, and before I started to lecture, a woman came to me. She was so happy to find a Druze woman, and she told me that a couple of years ago they visited Israel, and they saw the tents when they were in the Jeep tour. They saw the tents where the Druze people were living. And I said, no, where to start? I don't live in a tent. 21st century, I don't live in a tent. So imagining or thinking or this association when we say about or talk about Arabs in Israel, imagining them as primitive tribes living in the desert with camels and tents, no. Today, half of the doctors in Israel are Arabs. We are, and believe me, I know what I am talking about. We need to work harder, and we are working harder as the state of Israel in order to strengthen this sense of belonging. Because guess what? The majority of them need to feel more Israelis, need academic institutions. We need to close the gaps. We are closing the gaps and working hard to close the gaps and bring them to the Israeli atmosphere. Most of them just want to work, to feed their children, and to live stable lives. So when you next time talk about Israel, talk about Arabs, go and to the periphery of Israel. Go to the cities, to the villages, to the towns. Talk to them. Ask them who they are, what they need, and try to change maybe your image about them. When we are talking about Arabs, one of the tools is highlighting the beauty. I'm not talking about Kim Jong-un advocacy. I'm talking about real, authentic way of highlighting the beauty that we do have in Israel. Do you remember Har Miron crowd crush? It was in April 2020 when 45 Jewish worshippers were killed in that day. Those people, Muslims from Tamra, and not just them, by the way, in the all Galilee towns and villages, Muslims were waiting and calling and posting in social media for their Jewish brothers who were injured that day in Har Miron and asking them and inviting them to come to the villages. They just brought water, anything that they had in order to help them, and to help the rescue team to absorb them, to help them, to support them. So this is the real Israel that we have. This is the real Israel that I saw. This is the real Israel that I believe in. And believe me, the majority of the people there are those people, Arabs and Jews. And like those initiatives that we have double of those from the Jewish sector supporting and helping and seeing the beauty of the Arab sector. When I started learning at Bar Ilan University, my BA, I'm coming from a conservative society, and it was very intense program from 8 to 8. And a friend of my family, a Jewish Iraqi woman, Yafa Masasa, opened for me her home, her heart, and I slept in her home for 3 years, learning there and she was treating me like I was her daughter. Think about the trust, the beauty. Sorry. And one day, apropos closures, when I became member of parliament, we hosted, then it was a secretive delegation from the Gulf states in the Knesset, and I decided to take them to the Jewish Iraqi Museum in Or Yehuda. Yafa works there, and the foreign ministry, they were there, and they initiated a beautiful Facebook page in Arabic, targeting Arabs from the Middle East, highlighting the beauty of us in Israel regarding shared society. So they asked us if we can film a short video about us. So listen to this short video about me and Yafa Masasa.
مرحبا بكم بصفحة إسرائيل باللهجة العراقية. اليوم نحن موجودين بمتحف يهود بابل، وتحديدا بمدينة أور يهودا بدولة إسرائيل. وكعضوة كنيست دعيت اليوم للقاء بضعة الأشخاص ولإلقاء محاضرة، وسررت جدا بلقاء يافا مساسة اللي هي بالنسبة لي مش بس صديقة إنما أم. أثناء لقبي الأول درست بجامعة بار إيلان، وكوني أنتمي للطائفة المعروفية وأنتمي لمجتمع محافظ، أهلي اختاروا لإلي أو كان بدهم يختاروا لإلي أن أكون بمحل اللي يحافظوا علي. فأنا نمت 3 سنوات عند يافا مساسة اللي كانت بالنسبة لإلي كأم حنونة، كل يوم تعتني بي وتحافظ علي وتوديني هي شخصيا على الجامعة وترجعني من الجامعة، تعطيني زواتي معها. فهي دلالة على العلاقات الخاصة المميزة الموجودة عندنا في دولة إسرائيل بين العرب وبين اليهود بدون أي تمييز. نفتخر بدولة إسرائيل.
So this is Yafa Masasa, amazing woman, and this is the story that I had with her and still have with her. So we are talking on the one hand as a tool about highlighting the beauty, but on the other hand, it's so important to be able to talk about Israel, warts and all. Israel is not Switzerland. Israel is a very complicated country. And we are robust enough, strong enough, and evolved enough as a state, as a society, as a community here and there to bring Israel warts and all, to talk about the challenges, not just the potential. We do have challenges. By the way, I studied international relations. Imperfection is part of the international relations. It's part of handling or managing countries. There is no any perfect country in the world, including liberal Western democracies, including the best OECD countries. Each country is dealing with its domestic issues, domestic or problematic challenges, and Israel too. So somebody told there is a trend of if you criticize, you don't care. No, it's wrong. You can criticize. I criticize my children when I want to educate them, or I believe that I should say something. I could criticize my friend or my partner, and you criticize when you care. So this is something that we should understand and must understand. Part of my work is with Hillel International. In Hillel, we give national coverage, universities, campuses, students, staff, and to bring them when we are seeking to develop deep understanding and deep involvement and deep engagement for the long term. We cannot provide, I call it this Kim Jong-un advocacy, to come from Israel as an envoy, as shlicha, and tell them, with the flags, love us, we are pink, we are gold, we are perfect. No perfections. Sometimes we open maps, sometimes we explain to students what happened last century. We start and explain and bringing them to the understanding of you can ask, you can challenge, you can think and rethink, having the ability to establish those or to have those meaningful discussions and constructive dialogues about who we are and who we are the next century, who we are as an identity is so important as a tool. And when we are talking about challenges, I talked to you about the nation-state law. This photo was taken from August, the 4th of August 2018, when my community, the Druze community, arranged a rally in Rabin Square against the nation-state law. Not against what was written in the nation-state law, against the refusal of the country to ensure equalities for us as brothers. I was then an anchor woman covering live the event to IPBC, the Israeli Public Broadcasting Corporation, and this is the photo that I remember the most. Kamal, a Druze a guy from my village who decided to protest by wearing half IDF uniform as a soldier and half simply white t-shirt by saying, when I am a soldier in IDF, I am the A-class citizen in the Jewish state, but when I go back home and see the gaps, I feel that suddenly that I am the B-class citizen. So those are issues that we are dealing with regarding identity and sense of belonging. The good news are that there are solutions. Sometimes it comes in a delay of a couple of years, but we are a young state that is learning. See the budget, for example, that the last government brought. They doubled the budget for the Arab sector. Instead of 15 billion to 30 billion in order to close the gaps between the Jewish and Arab sector in Israel. Defeating crime, second one. I am sure you are following. Today, if you ask the Arab citizen or voter, now we are talking about voters in Israel, what you care the most about, he will tell you the crime wave. 92 people were killed this year. 126 were killed last year, half of them under age 30, some of them kids during daylight in the streets. The crime wave is unprecedented, so serious, so dangerous. So this government brought 2.4 billion shekels to defeat crimes, to bring more units, more police stations in the towns, in the Arab villages, in order to defeat the crime wave. And planning and building zone, another challenge when we talk about minorities, about Arab sector in Israel. We succeeded then to freeze Kamenetz law, and last government brought the electricity law. It means there are gaps, and we are working so hard to close them. One of the important tools, as I told you, my father told me, social activism. Those are in the right, my children, Tom and Liam, during that May. When you see something wrong, you cannot sit in front of the TV, sit on the sofa and just watch TV. We went out to the streets, just trying to remind people that we are brothers and we are sisters. Although we are coming from different places and towns and villages with different languages, but we share a lot. We share common values. So we had amazing initiatives for social activism, for beautiful faces of Israel who say, hey, we are different, but we are all Israelis. And we are all social agents. Many photos of me, in the center, the photo of me asking my mother-in-law how to cook the traditional Druze pita. And on that day in the evening, I was member of parliament. I traveled to represent us as the state of Israel here in DC. And you can see the photo with Yitzhak Pindrus from Yahadut HaTorah. We co-chaired the group of Israel Germany when I was in the Knesset, and that photo upright from the UN representing us as the state of Israel. Each one of us is a social agent. Each one of us is an authentic story that it is so important to share it to the world. And today we have million tools. You are connected 24/7, so use that. You can tweet, you can post, you can film, you can share your story, who you are to the world. You can be a Druze woman living in DC working for the Jewish Agency. You can be an Iraqi man learning at Harvard, living in Boston, but feel this connection to the state of Israel and to our brothers and sisters. I will end up with the story of Zidan Seif. I don't know if the name Zidan Seif tell you something. Zidan Seif was a brave Druze policeman who was killed in 2014 when he tried and succeeded to save lives of Jewish worshippers. There was a terror attack, a massacre that day in Bnei Torah synagogue in Har Nof in Jerusalem. And when I was in the Knesset, one day a Jewish philanthropist from New York City approached us by email, and he wanted to donate money for the Druze community, and he wanted me to connect him to my community. I immediately thought about the widow of Zidan Seif, who set up a fellowship to support students, Druze students in universities in Israel. So when I traveled back home from Jerusalem, I told my assistant, what an amazing story. Think with me, this circle, Joseph is a Jewish philanthropist living in New York City, with the help of me as a Druze female sitting in the Israeli parliament in the Knesset, trying to help the widow of Zidan Seif, who was killed trying to protect Jewish worshippers in Bet Knesset in a synagogue, and his widow is trying to help and support Druze students. This circle is Israel. This circle is the beauty or the beautiful face of Israel, and it proved to me that it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you live. At the end of the day, we all care. And even it's beyond I love, I cherish, I care. It's the commitment to our communities, to our societies, to support who we are. And I'm so proud and so glad to be part of this work in the name of inclusion, in the name of diversity, and in the name of equality. Thank you so much.
Gadeer, thank you very, very much. And to use your words, you're a phenomenal agent for not only the State of Israel, but also the Jewish Agency. So thank you for the work you're doing. I first saw you speak in Cleveland at a Jewish professionals conference back in May of this year. And right after we got home, we said, oh, we need to bring Gadeer out here. So we're bringing you via virtually, but we're really grateful for what you shared. I know you have limited time, so I just want to go through some questions that have come up and get some responses from you. So the first question is, when you hear the claim that Israel is an apartheid state, how do you respond?
By saying, look at me. Look at me. I'm a walking example of real Israel. When I lecture, there is no special guard or guards standing in the door and recording and checking what we are talking or what we are saying. We have the free, the amazing or the so important way of living as a democratic people in a real democracy. I answer by saying, look at me. I am a woman. I am a minority. I am a periphery. That my 0 point started far away from my colleagues and friends in every station, in every age. And I succeeded in Israel. And in Israel we have lawyers and judges, and we have in every aspect of life, we have this shared society. You have amazing, talented people representing this rich mosaic that we have. So I just, invite them to come to Israel. Mark, it's the difference between the image that we have, unfortunately, those days, when we are talking about disinformation, when we are talking about fake news, the gap is huge. So I really invite them to educate themselves, to come to visit us. And we have nothing to hide or to, you can show everything, all aspects. I talk, when I was in the parliament, I was in the opposition. I criticized the government when it was needed because I care to my country, and I love Israel more than many Jewish people, more than any Israelis. It means, it's complicated, but calling it apartheid, no thank you. We know who we are, and believe me, this ability to have me talking to you freely about all aspects of Israel is so unique to Israel, unlike, by the way, many other nationalities. Unlike many other countries who are, much more protected. Look what is happening or what happened this year in China. This absolute support, this absolute advocacy. No, this is not who we are. And this is why we are the strongest country in the region. This is why we are a regional and even we can say global superpower in many aspects.
You talk about education. So there's a couple of questions about the Druze community and just understanding I guess you used the word loyalty earlier, but Druze are loyal to the country in which they live. So if I live in Israel and my sister and brother are living in Syria, what is that dynamic like, both interpersonally as well as just our own loyalties to our country?
Unfortunately, there is no dynamics because of the complexity of the Middle East. There is no real connections. One day when I was in a conference in Prague, I found a Druze Lebanese who was a professional in that conference, and I gave him my business card. He told me, "Are you crazy? Do you want me to go back to the Lebanese airport with a business card of an Israeli?" Then I understood that the fear is rooted. They see us as Israelis, unfortunately, because they are not enjoying freedom. They don't live in democracies. Those dictatorship, their mindset is, I cannot freely talk to anybody. When I travel back home, somebody will check me. Who you talk with? Where have you been? We don't have it. And when I came here to DC, it was an experiment for me personally to see that there is a Druze community here in DC. But I didn't connect to them. I immediately found myself in 3 WhatsApp groups of Israelis, going to a Jewish supermarket looking for the Israeli products because this is what I know. Suddenly, when I'm making friends, I am making friends, Israelis, Jewish friends, because this is my natural atmosphere. So I wish that one day we could connect to this collective of the Druze as a sense of belonging, but because of the complexity in the Middle East, we don't have it. Imagine waking up in the morning in Haifa. Beirut is 2 hours from Haifa. Imagine in the weekend you travel to eat hummus in Shabbat in Beirut. But the region is so complicated. So unfortunately, even among families, extended families, no connections.
Great. I wouldn't do my job if I didn't ask you about the upcoming elections. But my question is a little different. There's a lot of talk about the potential for a very low Arab turnout in the elections this cycle. What's the impact of that, and how do you encourage more Arab citizens to vote?
You see the polls, you see the numbers, it's divided 50-50. It's amazing, someday it's 60, 59, 58, 57, we are divided 50-50. It's very complicated, and Arab sector is much more interested in municipalities, in local elections, and a process we tried in many programs when we were even in media to educate the collective to be involved in the general elections, in the elections for the Knesset, which is something that they feel as minority less connected to, less understanding, and less that they don't see the influence directly, how the results will affect their lives. But all numbers, all the indications now is talking about this as the crucial factor that is going to decide if we are going to have a new government or sixth election in Israel. But they must go out, and I see the efforts through social media of bringing people out. Let's see what is happening on Tuesday.
And to be mindful of your time, just one last question, because I know you have to go. You've now been in DC for a year and a half in the United States. What have you learned about the American Jewish community that you didn't know about before you came?
How much people are thirsty to know. How much people and how much we as Israelis need to work harder in order to have these connections and in order to listen to you. Part of my job here is to listen to you, not just to bring my input that I know and have in Israel, through my knowledge, experience. No, I want to hear you. It's important to listen to you, to listen to the street, to the organizations, to the federations, to the people, to the students, in order to have the ability to establish this image of what is going on here. It's like, you need to be there in order to understand Israel better, and you need to be here in order to understand what is happening here. But I believe I was amazed to see how much people are thirsty to know more, and how much we need as Israelis to listen more. Not just to come with this patronage of up-bottom advocacy, love us, be with us, or this advocacy. This up-bottom, bottom-up, 2 levels.
Terrific. Well, Gadeer, thank you very much for your time, for joining us here in Portland, Oregon. You're welcome to come and visit anytime if you get time to see the Pacific Northwest and how beautiful it is out here. But we're grateful for the work that you're doing on behalf of the State of Israel, and thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.